Today on the Commanders Report, could the Washington Commanders still trade for Trey Hendrickson before the NFL trade deadline? I'm going to be talking about that possibility at the top of today's program. Then we'll get into the latest Commanders injury updates, the very latest surrounding Terry McLaurin, and including a few new names on the injury report here this afternoon. But before we get into the content today, make sure you guys click that subscribe button because later this weekend here, the final injury report is going to be coming out on Saturday. So we'll get official injury designations for the Washington Commanders' game versus the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football. And we're going to be putting out a video probably on Saturday night breaking that down and how those injuries and those designations are going to affect this football game. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel for our video on that comes out this weekend. And, of course, we are still in the middle of our new subscriber battle with Bears Now, our Chat Sports Bears channel. And right now they are in the lead by about 26 or so subscribers at this point, but we can still catch up, all right? So if you're a new viewer, you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, and you want everyday Commanders coverage on this channel absolutely free, and you want to help us beat the Bears off the field as well as on the field, make sure you guys click that subscribe button right now. And now let's get into the content here where, honestly, guys, I'm not sure if the possibility of the Washington Commanders making a trade for superstar edge rusher Trey Hendrickson is all the way dead at this point. And I actually think it could be on the table for the Burgundy and Gold if they're looking to replace Dietrich Wise with a big-name player that could really change the dynamic of this Commanders defense for the rest of this season and beyond, because I'm guessing if this trade were to happen, the Commanders would give him a long-term extension. Now, the Bengals are 1-4, and their season is essentially over. Joe Burrow is injured. Sure, they just traded for Joe Flacco, but I don't think anyone's expecting the Cincinnati Bengals to kind of, make a miraculous run to the playoffs here and be buyers by the deadline, all right? And they made an agreement with Trey Hendrickson before the season began. We'll give you the money that you're looking for, but just on a one-year deal. It's essentially the deal that they came up with. So he's pretty much, on the final year of a deal on a team that's probably going to be looking to unload him. And, Hendrickson will almost certainly become a free agent next offseason if they keep him for the rest of this season. So from the Bengals' perspective, they could unload him for a draft pick that can help them next offseason, and they can do that before the trade deadline, before it's too late to do so. So Hendrickson, on the final year of his deal here, I think the Bengals are going to be selling at the deadline, and I think Hendrickson might probably be the biggest piece that they're looking to trade off before the NFL trade deadline, which is in about a month from today. So the question when it comes to the Washington Commanders is, should this team be interested still in Trey Hendrickson? They did have some interest before the NFL draft. I know that for a fact. They offered as high as like a second-round pick, and that wasn't good enough for the Cincinnati Bengals at the time. They were still trying to come up with a solution for a long-term contract for Trey Hendrickson, and eventually the Commanders just took themselves out of the running, and they haven't been back in the running ever since, especially since Trey Hendrickson signed that deal to stay in Cincinnati for the rest of this season. But on the other hand here, guys, Hendrickson is a game changer, all right? Like, Hendrickson legitimately is a game-changing presence. He is somebody that can command double teams and still put up insane stat production. He has been by far the best player on that Cincinnati Bengals defense for multiple seasons now, and he still consistently is at the top of the leaderboard in sacks in the National Football League. So his ability, despite getting a lot of chips and a lot of double teams, he's able to get to the quarterback pretty darn consistently. And by the way, having a guy on your defensive line can make everybody better, all right? So for as good as Dorrance Armstrong has been to start this season, he'd be even better with Trey Hendrickson forcing one-on-one opportunities for Armstrong consistently. Same thing would go for Javon Kinlaw and Daron Payne. You want the other players on your defensive line to play even better. Getting a guy like Trey Hendrickson could take this pass rush, which has already been pretty darn good, and turn them into arguably the best pass rush in the entire National Football League overnight. Plus, I don't think the price tag to get a guy like Trey Hendrickson at this point would be super high. I think that there would be other suitors, and maybe they could get a second-round pick, but this offseason, when they were listening to trade offers for Trey Hendrickson, apparently no team was willing to offer more than a second-round pick, and they were looking for more than that at the time. But now that they know kind of what the market price is for a guy like Trey Hendrickson, a guy that's approaching age 30 at his position with his production, it's worth like a second or third round pick. And honestly, like that is something that I would really consider if I'm the Washington Commanders, just in terms from a value standpoint. I think Trey Hendrickson is absolutely worth a third round pick if this team is able to get him for that price tag. But also, like if you think about it on the other hand here, like the Commanders don't really need Trey Hendrickson on their football team right now. And he is not only a lot of money for the remainder of this season against the cap, but if you get him, you're probably signing him to a multi-year contract, and he's going to be taking up a lot of your cap for not only this year, but for a lot of seasons to come. So it's a major investment that the Commanders would have to make. And right now, Dorrance Armstrong has established himself as, at least to this point in the season, a legitimate number one pass rusher in the National Football League. He's got 7 TFLs and 5 sacks. All right, he is affecting the line of scrimmage in a big way, and he's doing it at 255 pounds, man. So whatever Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. saw in Dorrance Armstrong when they signed him in free agency 2 years ago, it's coming to fruition right now. So I don't really think that the Commanders necessarily need a Trey Hendrickson, and Von Miller and Jacob Martin are doing a pretty decent job holding up the other end of the defensive line here in Washington. And then the guys on the interior, Javon Kinlaw and Daron Payne, certainly holding their own. So I'm not sure if this is necessarily the biggest position of need for the Washington Commanders at this point. Plus, I'm not sure how keen I am on trading another draft asset to another team, especially even that third-round pick, because like you look at the draft assets that the Washington Commanders have right now, they have a first-round pick, then a third-round pick. They're not drafting again until round 5. You do have 2 sixth-round picks. You got one from San Francisco in the B-Rob trade, and then you have a 7th-round pick. So if you trade the third-rounder for Mr. Trey Hendrickson here, guys, you don't pick anywhere in between round 1 to round 5, and that is kind of unacceptable to me. Now, you could trade down from your first-round selection, get some mid-round picks in exchange, but I think that that's putting this team in a draft position next year that, frankly, I don't want to be in. And when you take into account the financial situation that Hendrickson would have to be dealt if he gets traded here, and the fact that this unit is already doing just fine without him, honestly, that makes me want to make this deal less. But if Adam Peters and Dan Quinn feel like this is the year to go all in and, especially if you're getting him for a great value, like him for a third-round pick, guys, is an awesome, awesome value. So if you can get him for that price tag, I'm not going to be upset about it, especially because it makes this defense even better than what it already is. And honestly, obviously the biggest problems with the Commanders defense right now have nothing to do with the trenches. They have to figure out the linebacker coverage on the off-ball positions, and they got to figure out the consistency of the coverage on the back end in the secondary before they maybe think about adding another weapon to the defensive line. But, it certainly wouldn't be upset if it ends up happening. It's probably not something that I'm desperate to get done, but if it ends up happening, yeah, I'm going to be happy if the Washington Commanders trade for Trey Hendrickson. So here would be my trade idea here, guys. A 3rd-round pick and a 6th-round pick. You have 2 6th-round picks to work with here, so why not tack that on to make that a little bit sweeter for the Cincinnati Bengals? I still think the Commanders dominate this trade and fleece the Cincinnati Bengals if they're able to pull it off. And who knows, man, there might be a team out there really desperate for a number 1 edge rusher that gives up a 2nd-round pick, and this possibility doesn't even come to fruition. But I think if this was the price tag that it would take to get a Trey Hendrickson, this is something that I would at least consider. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Would you accept this trade? I just gave you all the information, the pros and the cons of trading this for Trey Hendrickson. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. A for accept or D for decline. This will be the pinned comment on today's show. So in just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at PrizePicks. Well, I'm telling you about our sponsor. Let me know if you would accept this trade for superstar edge rusher Trey Hendrickson. And now let's have a word from our sponsor today at PrizePicks. And you and I, we make decisions every single day, guys, but not all those decisions get you paid. But when you download the free PrizePicks app on your phone today, and you can make some correct decisions, you guys can actually get paid for those. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Football season is finally here, and you better believe I'll be getting my PrizePicks lineups in all season long. PrizePicks is simple to play. Just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks also puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks also offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. A new feature from PrizePicks that I absolutely love is injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks will not count that as a loss. So for Thursday Night Football tonight, guys, we got two NFC East playing opponents on rivals playing each other tonight, taking the less on receiving yards for A.J. Brown, taking the more on rush attempts for Jalen Hurts, the more on passing completions for Jackson Dart, and the more on touchdowns for Saquon Barkley. So if you guys want to get in on the action here tonight, you guys can go download the PrizePicks app today for free and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. So today in Ashburn, going over some injury updates with you guys here today. Terry McLaurin was not in uniform. He did not even have a limited practice designation. He did not practice, but he was there in shorts, and he was working out off to the side. So that is at least a good step in the right direction. He was jogging, wasn't really running, which has been an issue for him according to reports with this quad/hip flexor injury, which has been super mysterious. It still appears to me at this point, guys, that Terry probably won't play on Monday Night Football. And honestly, like, if he can't run on it right now, like, I'm starting to wonder if he's even going to be ready for multiple games down the line. I'm hoping he can get back to the lineup as soon as possible so he can get ramped up and build that chemistry with Jaden Daniels, which frankly he was missing during training camp because he was holding in. But obviously the sooner we can get Terry McLaurin back out there, the better in terms of this Commanders offense. But then we also have Deebo Samuel, who did not practice today, where he's dealing still with a heel injury. He was resting on it last week as well. He ended up playing versus the Chargers. So this is not a big concern, guys. On the official injury report, they actually list Deebo's designation as heel/veteran rest. So I think he's going to be perfectly fine. He's going to play. But then just to give you guys a full look at the entire injury report today, some interesting names that got added was Chris Rodriguez Jr. and John Bates. John Bates, what's interesting about him is that he was a limited participant, not with the groin injury that kept him out for multiple weeks, but with a shoulder injury. So hopefully that's not something that lingers all the way through this week and keeps him out of this ball game. And then Chris Rodriguez Jr. was added today with a calf injury and did not practice. Now, Chris is pretty much the number 3 running back here in Washington at this point. If he can't go, I'm guessing Chase Edmonds would probably get the number 3 running back spot, but we'll keep you guys updated on their statuses as the week goes on. And I want to finish up today's show with more Bill, all right? Because Bill is one of my favorite athletes in sports right now, and the more that I learn about the early rise and, the early really success that he has had in his NFL career, the more impressed that I am with this young man. And he has just been racking up the awards week in and week out. He was the East-West Shrine Bowl MVP. I was actually there at AT&T Stadium when he absolutely went off, multiple touchdowns in the Shrine Bowl this year. Ends up going in the 7th round despite really showing out at the Big 12 Pro Day. Had the fastest 40 time at the Big 12 Pro Day. He was awesome in the East-West Shrine Bowl. Still ends up going in round 7. And then this past week here, he gets the Pepsi Zero Rookie of the Week. Second again this season, he did it in week 1 versus the New York Giants. He was also the FedEx Ground Game of the Week versus the Chargers last week. Of course, he was fantastic, over 100 yards rushing. Was by far the most efficient running back in the league last week. So definitely well deserved there. And then also he got Tom Brady's LFG award for that Week 5 win versus the Los Angeles Chargers. So he's been getting a lot of trophies lately. So that's good for him. But, I mean, when you look at the production, guys, it's just so evident why this young man is taking the National Football League by storm right now as a 7th-round pick. He is currently number 1 in the entire NFL in success rate, rush yards over expectation per carry, yards per carry, 5+ yard percentage. Those are the percentage of runs that go 5 or more yards. And then first down/touchdown percentage. Almost 40% of Bill's runs go for either a first down or a touchdown. That is absolutely insane, ladies and gentlemen. And then some of these other categories, yards after contact per rush and 10+ yard percentage, he's still in the top 2. And he's doing all this, guys. What's probably the most impressive about all of this is that he's facing almost over 50% of his boxes that he faces are stacked boxes with 8 or more people in the box. That is number 6 in the entire National Football League. So he's getting the respect that the top RB1s in the league are getting, and he is outpacing those number 1 running backs, including Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley and all these guys that are top flight backs. Jacory Croskey-Merritt, already in his career, is matching them step for step. In fact, in most cases, he's exceeding the efficiency that those guys have been playing with to start this season. So I'm really excited to see what Bill's going to be able to do the rest of this season, guys. He named the celebration the dollar bill celebration, so we're going to be doing plenty of dollar bills here on the Commanders Report watch parties this year, and he has to be in the discussion for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, I've seen some rankings of people, of like top rookies in the league, and Bill's not even on there. I mean, for as much press as Bill has been getting, there's still a lot of people that don't know his name because he wasn't a big-name draft prospect, and he's a rookie, right? So I'm so excited to see how this young man plays. We've been talking about him a lot this week and how he and Jaden Daniels, these 2 young studs, make this Commanders defense, or offense, I should say, extremely dangerous and difficult to play against. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to do as he continues on in his rookie season. So who's the Rookie of the Year right now? I would say the one person that's even in the same discussion as Jacory Croskey-Merritt is Emeka Egbuka, who's had a fantastic start to his career in Tampa Bay. But let me know, who's the Rookie of the Year right now? Type JCM for Bill, type EE for Emeka Egbuka, or if there's somebody else that you think should be Offensive Rookie of the Year at this point, type who that is down there in the comments section. And that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for joining me here today. I'll have another video that comes out tomorrow, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Till next time, guys, hail to the Commanders.